there's a lot of uncertainty out there in the markets. There's a lot of uncertainty between the political game, the wars, inflation, deflation, interest rates. But now to throw it in the mix, there's a lot of questions that are coming up into regards of the value of a realtor, which you and I both know, and anybody who has purchased or sold homes in the past would likely know, what a real estate agent, what a realtor, what an advocate brings to the table. So I thought it was fitting to kind of talk about that and what it looks like to be represented versus what it looks like not to be represented.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've been talking about this really since middle of March, when there was first the announcement that the National Association of Realtors was going to settle the class action lawsuits that were pending. And there's been a lot of blowback and buzz, which I'm sure you've probably been privy to even more of that than me, about people, I guess, collective members of NAR being disappointed that there was a settlement, and this perception that it was like, well, we've rolled over and given up and surrendered or acquiesced that there's been some wrongdoings or something like that. And there's none of that. National Association of Realtors, as you know, has been around protecting consumers and working in concert with real estate agents and realtors to make certain that there is going to be enough protection and advocacy for issues that matter. So, I think the National Association of Realtors identified that this is a hot topic that's been in litigation, in and out of litigation for decades. Right. I know there's been a lot of recent conversations about this class action stuff, but this all predates. Some of the matters that I see dated back to the 50s. I was on a panel discussion with Monica Staff, and she referenced one that may have even been in the 30s. And it's all surrounding the compensation structure. So it's not a new conversation. We've seen so much in the media about misinformation as to how this settlement is going to impact buyers and sellers, right? We were seeing advertisements or headlines, right? Because nobody reads the fine print, that now houses are going to sell for less money because realtors are not going to be included or getting paid. That's completely and wholly inaccurate. We're seeing that there's not going to be realtors anymore. That's, again, wholly inaccurate. I have a lot of advisors that I work with. Your group is no different, that are still out there working and hustling to get their buyers the best property and keep them well protected. And that's really what that role is. And I think that's the conversation that we need to have, is shed a little light on all the benefits that the realtor offers to the consumer, be it a buyer or a seller. Because I can tell you, Emilio, we deal with a lot of clients that come through here unrepresented, and it's a much, much different experience that they have versus when they are represented. And you raised a good point, Emilio. You said work together. And I can't echo that enough, because I think that, as a seller, right, going back to the NAR lawsuits, there's this idea that sellers are saving money because maybe now they're not paying as much in professional services compensation, which I don't think that is actually happening. But if we just give a minute to the headline that could happen, well, what do you think is going to happen on the other side of this transaction if now you have a buyer coming in unrepresented? Yes, the seller was able to potentially, let's just pretend, they were able to save some dollars in order to secure this buyer, because there's not a cooperating broker being compensated, because that's what this direction is, or trajectory. But how is that going to go as you selling your property? You have another property that you need to purchase. This has got to go like clockwork, no hitches, no wrinkles. And now you've got a buyer who's like not really sure how to move forward with this transaction. Things are constantly being delayed because they don't have that professional guidance. And again, as the real estate attorney, yes, we can help intervene a little bit when there's no realtor, but we are not realtors. The reality is buyers probably can't afford to pay our hourly rate to do what it is that our realtors do basically 24/7. So folks, if you want to have a smooth transaction and you're only selling, make sure that you're giving some consideration to how that buyer's agent is being compensated. Because I'll tell you, in this busy market, when they're already at the top of the price points and there are still competitively high interest rates, you have to ask yourself, are the buyers going to be able to compensate the buyer's agents directly? And if they cannot, there's a better chance they're going to come in unrepresented. And that could have, I think, a disruption to the way your sale is going to be moving forward smoothly or more bumpy.